welcome to Diversity Alliance's YouTube channel and our campaign for this month. As you know, every month we have a different campaign, and this month is all around disability awareness. And it's a really important topic, not just for our industry, so the events industry, but I've definitely seen accessibility being moved closer and closer to the top of the agenda amongst many different industries and sectors. I was saying the other day during a webinar actually that I was at Euston train station and they had BSL interpreters on the screen interpreting the information regarding like departures and things like that, and that's definitely new. So it's definitely something we're seeing more of, and I think the conversation still needs to move forward and still needs to be continued so that we're not just kind of doing compliance stuff or the bare minimum. And so, as usual, I've brought on guests who are either experts in the area, have lived experience, or a bit of both. And so the bit of both person is my first guest, who I'll introduce in just a moment. But for some of you, in case you've not met me before, you don't know who I am. I'm Gabby. I'm founder of Diversity Alliance and the Diverse Speaker Bureau. Today, I'm wearing a grey, I need to say a brown jumper. I'm wearing a grey jumper. I've got my hair up, which I don't normally have my hair up. So I've got my hair up today. I've got brown skin. I've got like these pearly earrings on, gold chain. And I'm actually abroad at the moment. So I'm not in my usual setting. My plant chaz isn't here. I've got a different backdrop and it's super cute. I quite like it. And literally that's me. And let's stop hearing from me and let's hear from our guest. Meg Stradi, will you please introduce yourself? Tell us a bit about who you are, what you do, and anything else you want to share with us.
Thank you so much. So I'm Meg, and to take Gabby's lead on this, I am wearing a burnt orange jumper. My hair is in a low bun. I have glasses, and my background is all white with Peter Pan shadows in the background because it is very dark at 5 p.m. So I have horrendous lighting, and I am American, but I live in the UK, so my accent may confuse some of you. And I work for The Bulb, which is a sustainable consultancy, and we focus mostly on events and agencies who put on events, and we work with them on their sustainability strategies, making better choices, training, and all of that really fun stuff. But I also have a lived experience of disability, which is my hearing loss. I am deaf, but I prefer hearing loss because I have a cochlear implant, which helps me hear, I think, as well as the average person. So I don't like calling myself deaf because I do have some aid on that. And at The Bulb, we're very people focused. So we're very outspoken about accessibility and inclusion in the events industry.
Thank you so much, and thank you for sharing that. And on that note, as someone who, I'm going to use your language there, someone who is experiencing hearing loss, for example, actually, no, not for example, in your personal experience, let's focus on that. Has it kind of made it a challenge to navigate the kind of professional landscape? So I know you spent a long time kind of studying, you were at university, and when did you finish actually, uni? Couple of years ago?
I did my last master's. I finished, I don't even know what year this is. I want to say 2021.
Okay. And you were doing a master's?
Yes, I was doing long ago. I had lofty goals and dreams to do a PhD. I no longer do that, have those goals. But I was doing a master's of research at University of Exeter in Cornwall on how sustainable events can influence sustainable tourism in Cornwall, because I love how events can positively impact a destination. So I was doing that.
Nice. Okay, so you graduated or finished in 2021. So it's literally only a couple of years that you've kind of really been in the full-time work environment, I guess, in this sort of industry. What was it like kind of navigating the professional landscape then? You know, after coming out of the educational institutions, what was that like? Did you find it a challenge with your hearing loss?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in academia and industry for over a decade now. I'm a lot older than how I look. I've just always been, even academia is challenging because not every university will use an accessible platform. So, for example, University of Queensland in Australia uses Zoom, which has for some reason it's still struggling with captions and all of that, while University of Exeter, the main platform is Teams. So it's very dependent on the university and their platform. But even coming out into the real world, the adult world, is always challenging just because people, you don't meet people with hearing loss every day. They just don't know what to do, or they forget what they're supposed to be doing. So you're constantly having to remind them, which is one thing that I really like about my team at work, is that they don't forget. They're always making sure that I'm taken care of. But in previous roles, and especially when you work in events, it's going to be loud, it's chaotic, it's fast, it moves quickly, so it's always hard, and you're meeting new people all the time. So I'm constantly having to tell them, you need to look at me when you talk, don't look away. I can't use this piece of equipment. That's not how my disability works. So it's like, it's constant reinforcement, and it can get quite tiring.
Of course, I didn't think about that, in that the industry is like that. You're continuously meeting new people, new clients, new attendees,
Yeah,
new partners, new suppliers. And I
yeah,
didn't think about how draining that must be, having to, consistently kind of reshare your experience.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know, and I'm kind of putting you on the spot here. Would there be an easier way for you to share this, or actually would the key be that we all sort of start thinking about how we're communicating in a more accessible way, just in general? So it's not something that you kind of always have to feel like you've got to upskill or tell people or remind people about. I mean, I don't know. What's your thoughts around that?
I mean, a lot of times when I put people on the spot, like for example, when I go to a hotel at check-in, sometimes the person at registration is, yeah, what's your name? Like putting their hands in front of their mouth, like not interested or engaged. And I'll be like, look, I don't hear very well, so I need you to look at me when you talk. And they're immediately like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. That was really like very impolite of me. You should have gotten like the 5-star experience. I am so sorry. So I think they'll remember for the next time. But it's just, when you talk to people, actually talk to them. Don't be distracted by the car going in the road. Don't, put your hands in front of your mouth and be disinterested. Good communication is about facing the person and being interested in what they're saying and listening. But not everyone, like, I understand that sometimes, especially with autism and ADHD, that's sometimes hard. So I personally understand, because I have friends who are autistic or have ADHD, and they do their best. Like, we try to work together on that, but I don't know what's the magic secret to
Yeah,
change.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't
yeah.
know.
No, I don't either. We're putting it out there to our viewers and listeners. If you have any ideas, do let us know, message us, or comment if you have some great ideas around that. Because I'm quite bad at that, in the kind of looking here, there, and everywhere. I've always done that. I'm doing it now. I do it all. I do. It's just like natural, but I have to try and be really conscious of it, because I'm now more aware. So it is really interesting. And even just for people who are shy, or maybe more introverted, or like you said, who have ADHD or autism, who might find eye contact and all that stimulation quite difficult.
Yeah,
It can be a challenge, but we all do the best that we can, right?
yeah,
Underneath the circumstances. I think it's more the trying, I guess. It's like trying to do our
yeah.
best at the very least. I've gone totally off on a tangent and off track, but
We're
that's
still on
sometimes.
track, don't worry. I don't care if you're not perfect. I care that you acknowledge it and you try. Like, we're all human, we're gonna make mistakes. I'm still learning about all the other disabilities and what to say, what not to say, and things are changing all the time. So I'm very forgiving when you make mistakes. I'm not forgiving when you do it on purpose. If I tell
Mm.
you 300 times, do not send me a Zoom invite, I can't use it, and you still send me a Zoom invite, I probably will be very bitter and not want to work with you.
Harsh, but I love it. I'll be very bitter. I feel the same way about Teams. But anyway, oh gosh. Well, thank you for sharing that. I'm going to talk a little bit about the workplace now. So we touched upon the workplace at the beginning. We've talked a little bit about events. you are very knowledgeable about accessibility, the work that you do from a sustainable perspective, you're always considering accessibility as well. So I feel quite confident asking this question. What can workplaces do better to ensure their spaces are inclusive of people who have disabilities or diverse needs, and also more accessible, whether that's from a physical perspective or even a digital perspective? If you have an example you can share of like good practice, feel free to share it. If this is just your musings on things that you've noticed that could be done better, also feel free to share that too.
Yeah, oh, there's so many examples. I'll start with digital because that's easy. Always have a conversation with your employees, even if it's just between the employee and the boss or manager implements it. You don't have to tell your whole team about your disability. It can just be something that's talked about at the beginning, and then you implement the needs. So for example, I spoke with someone a few years ago who explains that with her ADHD, she prefers to have her camera off because she needs to be up and moving around. She's often like walking while she's on meetings because it helps her focus. But I needed camera on so that I could see her. And so we had the conversation. Okay, I don't mind that you're walking on the treadmill while that doesn't bother me. I just need to make sure that I can see your face. So we had that conversation beforehand to make sure they got what they needed and I got what I needed. So just having those conversations because everyone's needs are going to be a little bit different. Always use an accessible platform. We love Google Meet and we love Teams. We absolutely do not love Zoom, but also understanding that Zoom is more accessible for people with visual impairments, I've been told. So understanding what their needs are and how it matches that certain platform. Zoom will never work for me because no one ever puts captions on, and I hate it. I have a personal vendetta against Zoom.
Yeah.
So that's digital, and just like also thinking about like the sounds. Do you live on a busy street because someone might find it hard to hear? Are you using good headphones? That kind of thing. And in person, I know that a lot of offices are open floor plan. I struggle with that because I can't hear meetings well in an open floor space, and it's hard for me to hear. People will come over and talk to me, but I'm hearing everything in the background. So I like to work from home, especially on meeting heavy days. On days where I don't have a lot of meetings, I love to go in the office. I'm fine with that. But on days where I have a lot of meetings, I need to sit and focus. I would much rather work from home. So having flexible work from home policies, we just learned in the last 3 years that it works and it can work. Don't let the whole office culture fool you in thinking everyone has to come back. We don't, whereas we can do things from home just as well as everyone in the office. And I'm also more productive when I work from home rather than at the office because I'm not, going around office gossip and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
There's so much. One really big thing that I notice as well is thinking about wheelchair users. Is your office actually accessible? In this one building that a client's office is in, the wheelchair user has to like go around in the back, up a different elevator, and they have to have someone open doors for them because it's not automatic. So thinking about that journey and making sure that your building is accessible. And especially if you're moving buildings, just make sure it's accessible, it's near public transport and all of that.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, there's so much.
Okay, so to start wrapping things up, yeah, I'm actually going to move on to book recommendations. I love asking this because everyone comes with like a different thing. Some people come with like a self-improvement thing. Some people come with fiction. Some people come with a book that applies to the topic we're talking about that they found really useful in their education and learning. So we're totally free and we have no judgment here around what you decide to share with us. But do you have something? Do you have a book recommendation for us?
Yes, I am a massive bookworm and I consume books like the same way people consume chocolate sometimes. I thought about this and I decided to bring Demystifying Disability, and it's by Emily, I can't pronounce her last name, Lado. And it talks about, like, I'm always trying to learn more, not just about deafness, deaf culture, hearing loss, because that's about me, but about everyone else, because I believe we should be inclusive for everyone. My experience is not the only valid one, so I'm always trying to make sure that I'm learning about other disabilities and other experiences. And she does a really, really good book. So it's this one.
Amazing. What to
Yeah,
know, what to
I
say.
recommend it. But also, I am massive fiction, really into fiction. An author named Helen Hoang writes The Kiss Quotient and a few other books that gives you an insight into autism. And I like it because it's set in a fictional setting, but you kind of get an understanding of the interaction. Because, you know, something like this it tells you about it, but doesn't give you quite a picture. So I love any fiction books that also gives you a bit of an insight on disability and like their lived experience. And it's just nice to lose yourself in a book, but also learn something at the same time.
I really like that. And you're right, because when something is fiction, it's or it doesn't just have to be fiction, but when it's not, say, just a theoretical educational book, you get to learn the day-to-day of how people live their lives. And I think a lot of people make assumptions around how somebody with a disability might live their day-to-day life that it might be different from normal people, and it's not. FYI, it's just, you know. So I like the fact that having characters and protagonists that are, you know, have different experiences, I think is so important, and we need to see more of that as well. Well, thank you so much for your time. I've really enjoyed it. And as you said, we could have gone on forever because there's so much we can share. But, you know, you're highly knowledgeable, and I really love hearing your insights and hearing your experiences as well. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.